Welcome to What's Your Next Move, the podcast for peak performers who are making things happen but are running into roadblocks that prevent them from getting what they want. Whether you work for someone else, you're an entrepreneur, thinking about starting your own business, or at a point in your life where you just can't make the move from where you are to where you want to go, you're in the right place. This podcast is all about answering one question: what's your next move? And helping you harness your power so your next move is the one that changes your life. I'm your host and resident provocateur, Arlene Battisil, and I want to know, what's your next move? Hi there, I'm Arlene Battisil, your host and resident provocateur, and on today's episode of What's Your Next Move, I am doing something completely different. And I'm so tickled by this particular guest today because of something that she's done that's near and dear to my heart. Most of you who are listening and are in the audience and others who will hear this know that I'm an avid motorcycle rider, and I've only had one chance to ever go racing out on the track, and it was the most thrilling experience of my life and was so invigorating and the adrenaline rushing like crazy that I just thought, oh my God, this is what I want to do the rest of my life. And so anyways, very recently, probably within the last couple of months, I was on Facebook, and I don't know how I got connected, but I was invited to join a group of women who were putting together a rally that's going to go around the world in 2019. And I was all over it because I've done endurance rides, endurance races, and I've traveled really long distances on my bike alone. And so the idea of connecting all these women around the world who are basically going to create this chain that goes all the way around the world, like a necklace made up of women riders in this big international rally, was the most thrilling thing I've seen on Facebook. And so, of course, I jumped right into the group, and in a matter of the blink of an eye, there were 10,000 people in this group. I swear to God, this group grew to 10,000 people literally overnight. And so I just thought, oh my God, this is such a great story. How on earth did this happen? So I decided to reach out to the woman who started all of this. She's in the UK, and just ask her to tell me and us about how the hell all of this came into being. And now, I don't know if she was an entrepreneur before, but she certainly is now, because she now has a going concern with sponsors and all kinds of things. And for full transparency, my company, Go-Go Gear, which many of you know, we make protective clothing for motorcycle and scooter riders, primarily for women. And we're coming on board as a sponsor for this event because it's just a really cool thing. So anyways, I do not know our guest today. I met her for the first time on this call about 5 seconds ago. So we're going to discover her together and everything that she's doing, how she came to be, where she is right now, and what her next move is. So Hayley Bell, thank you so much for being here with me today on What's Your Next Move.
Thank you for having me as well. It's very exciting.
Yeah, this is very cool.
I'll start really apologise about my voice because it's terrible at the minute. I've done so much talking this weekend. We're down at Brands Hatch, which is like a UK motorcycle race circuit, and we were doing some events and promo for WRWR, which is Women Riders World Relay, which is the group that we've set up. And I've talked so much that I've lost my voice, so apologies.
Well,
I keep losing it.
Yeah, that's a good problem to have, and your voice is coming across perfectly. You're in the UK. I'm in Los Angeles and sometimes in Toronto, and so I think everybody across the world is going to be able to hear this with no problems. So,
Good
all right, Hayley, since I don't know anything about you, and I only know you in relation to this event that you set up, why don't you start with the beginning and how it is that you came to set up this event? We'll go from there.
It was a really, it's quite a sort of poetic story, I suppose. So basically I was sat at my regular 9-5 mundane job, doing my thing. I'm an office manager. And I'd just come back off lunch, and I'd been sort of daydreaming about obviously riding my motorbike as I do in work. And I sat down and I thought, you know what, sod it. to hell with work this afternoon. I'm going to do something that inspires me and inspires hopefully other women as well. I kind of just sat there and thought, right, what can we do that's going to really wow the industry and wow the participants in an event or some kind of group. And I came up with the idea of, well, I'd love to travel the world on my bike. I've not been overseas on my bike yet before, and so I kind of started thinking about doing a trip, and then that sort of led on to the idea of doing a relay. And before I know it, I sort of posted, I'm sat there writing women bikers or female bikers in every possible language I can on Google Translate, and then just posting out this post and like searching for these groups and things on Facebook. And I think on the first day, well, bearing in mind it was really only an afternoon, so maybe 6 hours. I think in the first 6 hours we had over 360 members join.
I remember that
idea, and I was like, wow, okay, so I'm not the only one who thinks like this. And there are other crazy people out there as well. I was like, yes, this is amazing. Then I started getting a little bit more serious about it and thinking, well, actually, hang on, this could be, really something big. If it's growing this quickly in less than a day, let's put this idea really to action and let's get this thing done. And then like the first week, I think we had like over 1,000 women join, and it just snowballed. And we're now at week 5, and we've got over 12,000 women from more than 95 countries worldwide, which is just like I look back on this last 5 weeks and I'm sat here going, wow, like this feels like a year.
Yeah, no kidding.
The amount of work that we've done and things, it's just incredible.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you guys have been super busy in the group, just posting all kinds of stuff and getting people all ramped up for this. Now, just one point of clarification, I missed it. How many countries are currently represented in the group?
So the last time I checked was about, and I know this sounds really bad, but it was about a week ago because I've been really busy this week. And at that point, there was 97.
Wow.
So there's going to be more. We're probably over 100 now. We're probably over 100.
Oh my God. Okay. So you start with this idea that just comes out of you thinking about, oh gosh, I'd like to ride in other places. Now, as this thing has evolved in your thinking, because it's just taken off like crazy, why don't you explain to the audience exactly what the event is going to be?
So basically what we're doing is the initial sort of stages of generating an event like this. We thought about doing mainly promotion. So basically we're getting the word out there so that we can then recruit the members and the relay around them. Going on to this sort of second stage around December time, whereby we're actually planning a route. So the idea is, and the sort of theory behind it is that we do legs of a journey. So this will enable anybody to do it, whether they want to ride a 2-hour long ride or they want to ride a 2-month ride. So would go, for example, I'm using the UK just for an example because it's where I am from, so I know the places. But for example, John O'Groats in Scotland down to say Manchester down to say the West Coast, and then across to the Isle of Man, the Isle of Man to Northern Ireland to Southern Ireland, etc., etc. And you do it in these sort of legs. And what I thought was really nice, as the groups developed and got bigger, the women in the group are suggesting these different things, which is great for us because it gives us ideas and gives us sort of our own ideas when they're agreeing with things that we've already sort of discussed.
Right.
So, for example, by doing these legs, we don't have to do them on our own. You can have multiple women riding. So we're going to be passing a baton, literally like the Olympics, like a relay.
That's so awesome.
It's going to be better than the Olympics, though. I can assure you that. It's going to amazing. But it's basically going to have a GPS tracker within it. We're going to be able to watch a live movement of this happening. We anticipate it to take roughly between 10 months and a year to actually complete this event, because we don't want to do half hog. We want to go like the full whack with this. Like we want to include all the countries that want to be included. We want to go all the places that the riders want to ride in. That will mean essentially doubling up on this world relay. So we won't really be doing a world relay. We'll be doing a twice over, if not more, world relay, because, for example, America is a huge country. We can't skip an entire section of America. We've got to do it properly. Do you know what I mean? So we've got to get out there. I'm just looking for more excuses to ride on my bike for further. That's all it is.
You know what, Hayley, I have to tell you, the reason that I'm laughing about that is because I've actually ridden across America.
Exactly.
All the way up to Boston, on up into Canada, Nova Scotia, and over onto Newfoundland, all the way to the other side of it. And why I laugh so heartily about you saying that is there's basically two major routes across the U.S. and you have to pick the northern route or the southern route, because if people are trying to cross the country quickly, they pick one of the two routes. And most people who are going cross country are typically doing it because they're moving. And so they want to get there as fast as they possibly can. Plus those are the truck driver routes so that they can move goods across the country quickly. So it's really funny for you to say about what you've done about coming to America and riding all over the place. And I, as a rider who've done it, I'm saying I'm not going anywhere except on Route 80 or Route 66 so I can get across as fast as I can.
This. Like, anyone who rides a bike knows that you enjoy it in the moment, and you go the long way around to work just so that you can get in there quickly.
That's so awesome. Okay, so I want to make sure I'm clear about this, because this is the first time I'm hearing these details, so this is great for me, so I can begin preparing. So the idea is you want to make it so that people are riding in really great places. They're taking a leisurely approach to this ride. Everyone can participate for whatever length that they want to participate anywhere in the world that this route is set up. So to be clear, it is not designed to go around the globe. It is simply designed to go to all of the places that essentially, collectively, the members have said everyone should ride, or anyone who is riding, these would be the places you should go. Is that correct?
That's it. So what we're going to do is we're having a think, and we're sort of in discussions about routes and things at the minute. Things sort of set in stone, because obviously we are so young and route. But essentially what we're looking to do is we're going to be recruiting ambassadors from each country. And what they will enable us to do is, for example, I don't know the best routes around Russia. I've never been to Russia. I don't know the roads, but the Russian women do. The ride, do you know what I mean? So what we're going to do is we're going to club together as a group and as a unity, which is what we're sort of all about, and actually use their knowledge and use these riders' experience in the countries to plan the route around them. So sort of say which are the best routes, and these ambassadors in each country will help us to sort of discover the best places to go, places to travel around. So it'd be really interesting. I'm going to have a hit list for holidays of life after this. I'll be like picking a new one every week. It'll be amazing.
No kidding. And how amazing it is that, there's now 12,000 women who are in this group, and the group will continue to increase as it gets closer to the date in 2019. And the connections that are being made between the women in the group, because, we all have riding in common. And then there are the women who love riding on certain types of bikes that lend themselves to women wanting to connect with one another around their bikes, because now in the group, people are posting pictures of themselves on their bikes. They're talking about where they've ridden in the past. And there's this real sharing of information in the group and a real excitement that's quite contagious, because people are looking at, oh my gosh, here's all of these women who are all over the world who are basically opening up their arms and their homes to welcome the riders, no matter where they are, no matter who they are, and talk about uniting the world at a time when we so desperately need it. And let me ask you, Hayley, do you have any thoughts or feelings about that this is, in effect, what you're doing? You are actually uniting the world.
I've sat here and cried. Tears of joy, like, over some of the stories that I've read in that group. You know what the really amazing thing is that we've done this, and I say we because it's not me, it's everybody in the group. Every member who's shared a post, who's liked our page, who's invited their friends, has effectively created a global platform for inspiring and encouraging not only women riders but male riders as well. The group is a public group, so men can see this. To keep it that way, because we don't want to exclude men, and we're not going down that route. But what we do want to do is we want to encourage women and give women a place to feel safe, and a place to have role models, and a place to be inspired, which not necessarily all women can look up to or feel like they want to look up to men in racing and things like that. It's
right.
So much better for them to have that female role model and somebody who's in exactly the same boots literally as them. Do you know what I mean? And
absolutely.
And the amazing thing about this group is the group itself has become an entity itself.
Yeah.
I never expected this. It was all about the relay. It was all about the event.
Yeah.
But in actual fact, the group itself has become an entirely new entity, and that's just full of amazing culture and stories, and women who have defied all odds. And for example, I'll use this as an example, like Claire Lomas. She's a lady who had a horse riding accident, and she got paralyzed from the chest down. And you know what? She sat on a bike and she's going around Silverstone, and she went round Brands Hatch when we were there this weekend, and she bossed it. Do you know what I mean? Like, what a God achievement! And there's so many inspirational that I literally can't list them all. That it is full of them, and that is so powerful to everyone at the group. And I think that is also helping to generate this mass, because it's real and it's exciting and it's new, and women can relate to it and look up to it and be encouraged by it. It's really, really great.
It just has brought tears to my eyes as you've been talking about this, because
you'll set me off as well, honestly.
I think anyone listening to this, because I'm going to post it in the group, they will have that same feeling, because we all know what it feels like to ride and to be out in the wind. But there's another element here, there's another dynamic here that I think is really, really important, especially for women in the world that we're living in right now. And that is, being on a bike gives you power in a way that you don't have it as a woman any other place in your life. And I know for many women, especially women who've experienced trauma, the idea of being out on the road on their own bike, being in control of what they're doing, where they're going, them making all the decisions and no one having power over them, is a huge benefit for women. And the fact that they ride, and how the riding and a rally like this or a relay like this and the bringing together of these women around a common love is so healing for so many women. And I'm wondering if you've had much thought about that, or there's been any conversation among those of you who've put this together.
There's been a lot. I mean, we have a group of 10 admins, including myself, so 9 others, sort of recruited along the way to organise this. And we never knew each other, you know, we never we weren't friends before, we've never met before. It was completely sporadic, and I guess just going off a whim and a gut instinct from the start, and me sort of looking at them and sort of observing, I suppose, a bit. They'll without sounding like I've been spying on them or anything like that. And we've got this group, and you know, we have a story that comes through the page, the main group page, and it'll hit home, and I'll put it in there, or another admin will put it in there, and we'll read it, and we're all just the same. When you strip it all down, we are because that's it. We share a passion, and that passion is like no other. Like I have had so many hobbies before in my life. Like I was a windsurfing instructor. I've done horse riding, you know, and there's just so many different things that I've sort of flitted through with life. But the one thing that's always stuck with me is riding, and I think you really hit the nail on the head there. In terms of, it gives me that sense of freedom and control. So complete uncontrol as well. Because, you know, when you're riding a bike, your entire mind is focused. I do on that journey, the here and the now. Yeah. When you've had a shitty day at work, or you've got the kids mithering you, or whatever you may be going through in life, the minute you step on a bike and you put your helmet on, it goes, and it is just you, the bike, and whatever is around you or in front of you, and I think that sort of sense of freedom and that sense of like you say, empowerment and sort of distraction as well from life is really powerful to unite women and to sort of relate to each other and things. And I can't describe it. I mean, but for those who are a non-biker who don't ride, I would encourage everybody to just try and ride a bike.
Yeah.
For me, like, I've been riding for 3 years. So long. And, you know, I've got family who ride, and I was never allowed one because I was the hooligan. I was the one who... You know what I mean? So I was never allowed one growing up, and I was always jealous of my younger brother because he got one and I wasn't. And then, you know, time went by and, you know, life happened, and then I sort of settled down a bit and I got my bike. And I remember thinking, like, the day that I passed my test and I went out for my first ride, why the hell did I not do this earlier? And it's such an incredible feeling. And, you know, to perform something for me, that to do something like this that I'm so passionate about. And I think that's where it's sort of really sparked. Right. Like, it's a passion. It's not hobby. It's a passion, and it's life, the way of life. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah. Absolutely. And it's really extraordinary when you ride with other people, because there's such a common language and a shared experience that is very hard to have with other people in life today, because everybody's all caught up with being on their mobile devices and all the technology and stuff. But when you're on a bike, it's you and you're inside your helmet, you're on the bike, the person that you're riding with or the people that you're riding with are all communicating with hand signals. They're paying attention to what everyone is doing. And like you said, to your point, your mind is completely focused on what it is that you're doing. And the way that when we ride with one another, we must be aware of one another at all times, which means, in a sense, we're taking care of one another. It's not just about safety. It is about knowing that we're with someone else out there on this journey. Even if we don't know them at the start of the ride, we certainly know them by the end of that ride. And it serves to create relationships, many of which are lifelong relationships that are founded and grounded in the whole shared experience of riding. And everyone in the group that you have created knows what that feels like and has this sense of camaraderie with everyone else who is in the group, because we just understand and speak a language that no one else does. And it is the language of communicating when you can't use words. And it's about being out there on the road and communicating with our hands and heads and feet and all the other ways that we communicate that no one else ever even thinks about. And one of the beautiful things about what you've set up here is the ability for all of these women to connect with. And I know from seeing all the different people in the group introducing themselves, as an American, in my country, there has been so much venom being spewed at other countries and the people in them. And it just breaks my heart, because I was always of the feeling that I wanted to know as many people as I could ever get to meet and know in life all over the world, because there's so much that we learn as a result of it. And seeing all of the different people, all of the different women posting where they're from, there they are with their bikes, where they've been riding, who they are, whether they have families or not, or whatever it is that they choose to share. Some share pictures of their dogs with them on their bikes. And it really is about bringing the world together in a way where it's neutralizing the division. And I see it happening in the group where people are just saying, oh, you have to come to this place and let me know when you're coming here. And I mean, what you're doing, what you've done here really does serve to break down barriers. It opens doors. It serves as an invitation for all of us to reach out and touch one another. And that's, I think, the most remarkable thing for me in what you've done. And what are your thoughts about that, just in general?
I'm quite similar to you in that I've done a bit of traveling myself. Mm-hmm. Has opened my eyes to different cultures, mm-hmm. Different ways of life and different opinions and, differences in living, I suppose. Mm-hmm. And I can walk down the road in, England here, and I can meet 20 different people, and they're all very different. Mm-hmm. And I can do the same in India, in Pakistan, in Canada, in wherever, and it be exactly the same. We're not all the same.
Right.
And this whole, it really is amazing. Like the feeling of unity mm-hmm. from culture and the feeling, actually the utmost thing that points out to me is the feeling of respect.
Yeah.
Group. Because there's been no slating, there's been no religious qualms, there's been there's none of that. It's everybody in the group has just gone, no, hang on, we've all got one cause here, we've all got one. Forget everything else. It's not. This is what's important. This and that to me is a true unity of people. And I joked about it when I was writing like my sort of about section, I suppose, mm-hmm. with WRWR. But I said in a comment, I said I don't think a global event really makes this sound as big as it is. Mm-hmm. I think it's so much bigger, and I put as a little note next to it, and this isn't sort of saying it's going to happen by any stretch of the imagination, but world peace ? Because this feeling is like no other. It's like this group is just so solely focused on one passion, and that is bikes. And they have, bikers in general have such a connection and such a raw boundness like between them that it's like we're welded together somewhere. Do you know what I mean? It's like we all get it, we all understand it, and I think because we take a risk, I suppose, daily, weekly, or however often you ride, you take that risk. And I think that risk connects us because we know the meaning and the importance of life.
Absolutely.
Sort of take a step back from the sort of the squabbles and the qualms and what's going on in life, and we can go, well, actually, you know, I nearly hit a badger on the road today.
Yeah.
I could not be here, so I'm going to take this for granted, and I'm going to think about this, and you know, and it's just really special. I never knew it was going to get this big, but it has, and I never knew it would get this big. I'm really not surprised that it has.
Yeah, for sure. And it's really interesting, your point about the risk, you know, with the squabbles that you referred to. I think there is something too, that when people are engaging in that kind of behavior, they haven't either experienced enough pain in their life, or they don't have enough risk in their life for them to see their way clear to what's really important. And I think the marvelous thing, one of the many marvelous things that you've done in putting this together, is it's enabling every single one of us to bring our best selves into the group and into what it is that we're going to do next year with this rally. That's really extraordinary.
I totally agree with that. I mean, there's no, and I'll use this as an example. There's no food photos. There's no, you know, look what I did today. It's just a simple post to say, hi, I'm so-and-so from this country. You know, I ride this bike, or I'm just starting to ride this bike. And the support that the group is offering to all these women bikers, whether you're new to biking, whether you ride a scooter, whether you ride a trike, whether you're on a sports bike, whether you've just fallen off, like whatever it is, like they're just so, I'm so proud of everybody in that group. Like, I was going to have one hell of a task on my hands, like in terms of managing all these women. Like, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be like putting out fights everywhere. Like, there's going to be bedlam. And I thought, and when this has all sort of come together, it's not. I literally haven't done, and none of the admins really. We've one very slightly bad comment that really wasn't that bad, but it could have been perceived badly in a different maybe, and that's it. There's nothing else. It's amazing. Like, all these girls like getting on, and we're all just like following this one thing, and that's the love of a bike. And I mean, it's crazy. It was a crazy idea to start. That's what makes it so good. That's what makes it so exciting, because it's mad. It's out of the box. It's not
absolutely. And you're right. It is one of the things that makes it so magnificent. And you know, one thing about all the different kinds of people who have come into the group, this is the thing about riding and being a biker, and that is there is a common language that we share. And for people who don't feel connected to the world and the people in it, it is another great leveler, because if you ever see somebody, you know, walking with a bike helmet, it's an instant invitation to start up a conversation, or for them to start up a conversation with you. And the most frequently asked question of anyone who is seen with a helmet is, what do you ride? And it just opens up the conversation. I remember I was walking into a store from a parking lot at one point, and, you know, to tell the truth, I'm closing in on 60. And this young guy who was probably barely 20 years old, he got off of his, you know, sport bike, and he's all decked out in his racing gear and stuff. And he comes walking, you know, next to me, and I just started talking to him about his bike, and he instantly said, "You ride?" And I said, "You bet I do." And then he said, "What do you ride?" And I told him, and then I told him where I ride, canyon carving, and I've been racing and all this stuff. And it was as if there was no difference in our generations. We just were talking the same language. And it's
how amazing is that? Like,
yeah, for sure. It's an amazing way to bring people together.
Yeah. What other hobby or what other passion would you be able to walk up to? Say I was, I'll use cricket for an example. Was a cricket player, in what other passion or hobby can you walk up to somebody knowing they are of the same hobby as you and conversation with a completely different person that you normally wouldn't potentially speak to.
For sure. And it happens in restaurants all the time, where you can just be sitting in a restaurant and somebody sees you with your helmet on the seat next to you, and they stop. They will not leave that restaurant until they have a chance to talk to you about riding. And the people are like, come on. Like, no, you go ahead. I'm busy.
It really is amazing. Like, I mean, the amount of like friends and do you know what biking really did for me, aside from the adrenaline, aside from the escape, aside from the fun of it, I suppose, is it gave me a sense of community and a sense of friendship like I've known before. Bikers will all agree with me on this. I can bet my bottom dollar on it. Like, everyone who's a biker knows a biker that will help you out, no matter where you are.
Always.
Like, I've drove 4 or 5 hours before in a van in the dead of night when I've got work the next morning to go pick up somebody who's broken down in the bike. I've passed people on the street when I'm late for something, and I've picked them up and sorted whatever else I'm doing off just to help a biker out, because it's the awesome rule. Do you know what I mean? And you don't get that anywhere else. And that's what really shines through in WRWR is the friendship and this loyalty to one another in this community where, we will help each other out, and we've got this common cause, and that's to, create awareness with the women in bicycle sports and in motorsports in general. To unify women and sort of encourage them to get on a bike and try it, and if you think they can't do it, reach out to your other sisters in the group and say you're having problems with this, and we'll lift you up and we'll get you through it.
That's beautiful. That's so wonderful. It is so true about this thing of bikers helping each other out. And I think there's a tendency among bikers to even ride up next to people who are in cars. And if somebody's in distress, that's what bikers respond to, because we know what it's like to be stuck on the side of the road. And to have a biker come up next to you and just say, "Are you okay? Do you need some help? You want to hop on the back and I'll take you to, get somebody to come and get your bike," or whatever. It's such an automatic thing because we're so aware of one another out on the road at all times. And to your point, I don't think there's anything else that people do in life that just creates that sense of responsibility that we all have to one another.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
it's such an unwritten rule. If you look back sort of through history, bikers were always tarnished with this badass gangs, violence, look, and really, you peel back that shell, what you find is the complete opposite quite a lot of the time. I mean, I'm not saying that there isn't bike gangs, that there might well be, but the real core of biking, the real core of being a biker, I suppose, is this sense of unity and help. And support each other.
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
Well, Hayley, I was just looking at the clock and it's like, okay, how did this time go by this quick? I want to wrap this up by, I have about 10,000 other questions I want to ask you about this. And, we're talking bikes. We can talk all day.
We could talk forever. How long have you got?
Like guys talk about sports, we're all talking about our bikes, right? But I want to ask you, as the name of this podcast suggests, it's like, okay, what's happening? So my question for you at this very moment in time as we're recording this is, what's your next move?
So at the minute, what we've got some exposure. What we are looking for at this point in time is to reach out to suitable sponsors, and then to start generating the routes. So at the minute, everything's sort of come out of the admin's back pockets, which we don't really want, because I'm going to be living on baked beans for the rest of the year, I think. And we're looking for we've got like a few sort of sponsors in mind. We're finalising packages at the minute, and then we'll be looking to obviously get this as a formalized, I suppose, event. The route is the next big task on our,
for sure.
but one that we're all really excited to start as well, because it means, looking at where this baton is going to be carried around the world and where these women are going to be going. So that's a really exciting next step to be jumping into. So that's the sort of main sort of stage, I suppose, after this. And then, of course, in springtime of, UK springtime of 2019, that we'll be actually looking to start the relay, which will be a complete new phase in itself, and one that would, like, imagine just getting a call from, South Africa or wherever, saying like, oh, we've just finished our leg, and we've passed it on to the girls, and it's going to be so exciting and so amazing, and we're really looking forward to sort of everything that is being opened up to us by doing this. It's really sort of shown me, and I know a lot of the other admins as well, like so many different people and so many different sort of lifestyles, as you say, and like different routes and things, and we all just want to get, like, we keep getting sent photos, and I want to buy 10 new bikes, and like, oh my God.
Because you have to have the right outfit when you're going out. Well, now we have to go out and buy a new bike so that we have the proper bike to go and sell our relay.
Exactly.
It's really a big year in motorcycle sales in 2019. Here come the women.
You've got to match your leathers and everything as well. So
yeah, exactly. That's a big boom year. Well, Hayley, this has been really magnificent. And what I would like to do, if you're open to it, is I'd like to come back to you periodically and do an updated episode so that we can get an update on things. And I would be delighted to be featuring people on my show who are going to be in the relay and are interested in this, because everyone has a story and everyone needs to know what their next move is going to be in life. And so what an amazing thing, because we're all on the move, both in life and on the road. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing how this is developing in the group. Once the route is posted, we all have a chance to see what it is, and we decide how each of us is participating. And if you can share with our listeners, just before we wrap up, where can they find you and where can they find out more about the relay?
Okay, so we've just launched our website. We've got a ton of information on there in terms of sort of FAQs in the About section. What, like, the core about what we're about is on there as well, which I think is really important and really sort of shines through in the group. We also have, which is something that we really wanted to push, a motorcycle maintenance section. So that's obviously available to everyone. I think really important to learn about your bike, and a lot of women feel nervous about asking, or pressured about asking about different asking, I suppose, about what this is or how do I do this. So I wanted to make this website a portal and a mass of information, so that you don't have to ask those awkward questions, but you will know it and you will learn it. Do you know what I mean? And you can get that information without feeling like the boys are going to take the mick out of you or whatever. So it's got the motorcycle maintenance section on it. It's also got the Our Riders section, which has a lot of information about our riders and some of the sort of inspiring stories that are within the group if you're not in the house. So the website is www.womenridersworldrelay.com. And then find us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We've got the Facebook group, which is the main sort of conversational section, I suppose. It's a women-only group in that bit for headcount reasons. And that is, if you search for WRWR, which is abbreviated, obviously, for Women Riders World Relay, you'll find it there. And then likewise, if you search the same thing on Twitter and Instagram, WRWR, Women Riders World Relay, you'll find a mass of amazing women and their bikes.
Oh, how magnificent.
And I actually hear that bike in the background, actually. That's my other.
Of course.
On his new Aprilia 210. No, sorry, it's not got the 210, the Aprilia RSV 1000.
Oh, beautiful.
I stole it off him the other day. I took it out for a ride. He wasn't very happy with it.
Oh, gorgeous. And Hayley, I'm sure people are going to be interested in learning more about you specifically. Is there somewhere that you can share with us where people can actually reach you directly, or should they just try and find you on Facebook?
Absolutely. I mean, I've got the email address for Ride Art. You can find me on Facebook. It's Hayley Bell. Mm-hmm. Likewise, if you want to know like a bit of blurb about me, I suppose we did an admin's interview on the website. Mm-hmm. Go onto the website and go on to our admins. There's actually a short sort of bio about us all on there. Alternatively, the contact email for for Women Riders World Relay is ride@womenridersworldrelay.com, and you can reach me directly there as well.
Oh, that's beautiful. And for those of you who might be searching for Hayley on the internet via Google search, her first name is spelled Hayley, as your name is spelled differently in different places. So I wanted to make sure people were clear about the spelling of your name so that they could find you if they're looking for you. Well, Hayley, this has been absolutely magnificent. I know you are so incredibly busy, not only working, but also putting on an international production here. And I thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today. I'll get this podcast published right away, and we'll post it into the group so everybody can take a listen and get the latest behind the scenes of what's happening at the relay. Thank you so very much for joining me.
Thank you. Honestly, it's been a pleasure. Any excuse to talk bikes, you know what I'm like, Holly, and so that's absolutely fine by me.
I'm with you there, Hayley. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, hon. Take care.
Beautiful. Well, there you have it, everybody. A very different episode from me today, but obviously from how I've been laughing throughout, it's a real passion of mine. And so I'm just on fire and just really lit up right now and energized by what is to come here in this group and what we're doing together as a way of to some extent realizing our unity, but more so our humanity. And I so very much appreciate what Hayley and the others are doing and giving us an opportunity to just go out and be as one out in the world that we live in today. So with that, as you know, I wrap up every single episode in exactly the same way. And I ask you to think about where you're at in your life right now and ask yourself the question, what's your next move? I'm Arlene Battisell. Thanks so much for listening. I'll be back with another episode. Welcome to What's Your Next Move, the podcast for peak performers who are making things happen but are running into roadblocks that prevent them from getting what they want. Whether you work for someone else, you're an entrepreneur, thinking about starting your own business, or at a point in your life where you just can't make the move from where you are to where you want to go, you're in the right place. This podcast is all about answering one question: what's your next move? And helping you harness your power so your next move is the one that changes your life. I'm your host and resident provocateur, Arlene Battisell, and I want to know, what's your next move?